So it has recently been announced that Warner Bros. Discovery is looking to overhaul the properties of DC Entertainment, which range anything from the shows to movies to even video games. Now, is this a step in the right direction for Warner Bros. To capitalize on their DC properties, or is it just some use of some good headlines before they inevitably crash back down again? Let's talk about it. Before we begin, I would like to give a big thanks to you guys for getting the channel to 300 subscribers. Since I took over the channel when my brother wanted to take a break from uploading gaming content, I've seen a fairly steady increase of subs over the last 6 months, so it truly does mean a lot to me. Anyways, however you feel about the DCEU and their films, you can't really deny that the road has been kind of bumpy to get to where we are. You have a few really well received movies, and then a few that are kind of middle of the road, and then a few that I really don't ever want to see again. But behind all of that, they lack a sense of connectivity and direction as a connected universe should have. I mean, if you look at the Lord of the Rings films and the Hobbit films, or even the Star Wars, or maybe even the MCU, you can see how these films are connected and build off of each other one after another. Now, you had that in the DCEU more towards the beginning, where Man of Steel led into Batman vs Superman, even though it was handled pretty poorly, which then led into Justice League, which was handled even more poorly, but that's really it. One of their ideas is to potentially find someone who could be the head of the creative and strategic direction for the DC properties, similar to what Marvel has with Kevin Feige. And I think that's actually a brilliant idea. I mean, look at what the directors can do when given the tools to do what they know how to do under the umbrella of one person. I mean, you have the Russo brothers doing Captain America Winter Soldier and Civil War, two of the best received movies in the MCU, as well as Infinity War and Endgame. You have Taika Waititi with Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder, despite it not coming out yet. I'm just imagining it's going to be good, hopefully. Jon Favreau with Iron Man. You could even take it to DC and say it for some degree as well. I mean, James Gunn with the Suicide Squad, or Zack Snyder's Justice League, Patty Jenkins with Wonder Woman. I don't know what happened with the train wreck of Wonder Woman 84, but let's not talk about that right now. So having one person in charge is totally fine and acceptable if you allow the directors to display their artistic vision onto the big screen without one person doing more than just giving them boundaries. I mean, you have Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Man, Infinity War, Thor Ragnarok. They all feel vastly different from each other, but also feel very similar because of how Kevin Feige has helped shape the MCU into what it is today. But it is also stated that they are less interested in finding someone who is a creative guru and more interested in finding someone who could just kind of keep all the different factions of DC working together more harmoniously. Which on paper doesn't sound bad either, right? Like I said, they don't need the execs coming in and making edits to the director's creative work when they probably had about as much imagination and creativity as a loaf of bread. But if that one person just came in and gave them some boundaries when moving from one project to the next, then you can have a connected universe very seamlessly, kind of like the MCU. But the one part that's worried me the most is the word overhaul, because that can mean quite a few things, really. Do you mean we are getting a complete reboot of the DCEU, like a fresh, clean slate wiped clean, or just spin into a new direction? They say that several top-shelf characters like Superman need to be revitalized, which I agree with to some extent. I mean, you have the perfect casting for Superman, but he is also kind of boring to watch in my opinion. Other than Man of Steel, I really liked him in that film for the most part. But if they do completely reboot the characters, then I won't complain as long as they don't go through all this remodeling just to find out that the films still kind of suck and lack any sort of coherence like before. Or when they say overhaul, are they going to overhaul the staff, like the people who kind of stuck their noses into projects and ruined them in the first place? Now, I'm not saying that Batman vs Superman or Wonder Woman 84 wouldn't have been as bad if the executives didn't come in and screw with the director's visions, but you're shooting yourself in the foot if you do that in the first place. So I would actually like to see both done. Personally, I would like the characters and the stories to be rebooted to have a connected universe just started over. Now, that doesn't mean I hated everything so far. I mean, I loved the Suicide Squad and even made a video about how it was one of the perfect superhero movies. Be sure to check it out in the description if you're curious. And the Batman was really great as well. Definitely two of my favorite superhero movies in the last decade. But if this means we get to explore the DC universe the same way that we've gotten to explore the Marvel universe so far, then I absolutely support the direction that they're going. The Marvel films are pretty formulaic, and they have this fetish of killing their villains before they become interesting characters. But they make a ton of money, and for the most part, they're pretty well received in the general population. So I'm not asking DC to copy Marvel's style, rather to learn from their mistakes from the past and learn from what Marvel has done well and spin it in their own new direction moving forward. DC tried doing Marvel style in Shazam, and it was fairly well received, but honestly there were a few problems with it that I had, and I didn't really care for the movie that much, despite being excited for the sequel. Now I would love to see the Batman's universe continue going forward, and if you could somehow move this version of Batman into a movie with the Justice League,
that you've already fleshed out at least 2/3 of the roster,
then I'm all for it. I don't really know how blending this dark, gritty noir vibe with Superman or Wonder Woman would go, but hey, I have the creativity of a loaf of bread, so someone will figure it out, I'm sure. I want to see these characters interact, struggle, fight, face incredible losses and victories in the same film, and after, I want to see the ramifications of previous films fleshed out in an organic manner. You don't have to rush something to keep an audience interested in it. Like, you do not have to make Darkseid part of the third or the fourth movie in your universe to keep people watching. In my opinion, the most important thing in movies are the characters, because I don't care what they are doing. If you can relate to them or if you feel for them, then you've won the audience. I don't really care to see the Snyderverse continued, but if they did that too, I wouldn't really complain either. And you could even have standalone films like The Batman or Joker, but in a connected universe and done well. That's what they should aim for. Don't chase the money by making a product too quickly and it comes out crappy. If you make a quality product, the money will follow on its own. But what do you guys think about the whole Overhaul situation? Do you think that Warner Brothers can do it right this time on the back of the last few years of learning what not to do? I have high hopes for them. I mean, I'm a Marvel fangirl, but that does not mean that I do not also love DC as well. I love superheroes in any form or fashion. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hit the thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and be sure to hit the sub to show some love. But as always, have a marvelous day, my friends.